Well, the objections that were made were that Ms. Sim Ann put down that she's unemployed. Given that she was a civil servant until very recently, we asked whether she had served out her notice period. It may be 1 month, maybe 3 months. So we assume that if she has served out her notice period, well and good. If she hasn't served out her notice period, technically she's still a civil servant. Therefore, she's not eligible to stand for election, and she has misrepresented herself in the form under the Parliamentary Elections Act. So we raised those objections in very good time, and after a lot of toing and froing, what looked like the returning officer faxing away somewhere and telephoning, they came back with a one-liner: "We note your objection is overruled." Signed by, I won't mention her name because she's a civil servant, but signed by the returning officer's department. So we asked them to explain what the grounds were, and they said they were under no obligation to explain the grounds. Their role was simply to adjudicate on the basis of the form itself, the face of the form, they said. And they also advised us that it's not their role to investigate. My understanding of the Parliamentary Elections Act, it is specifically the role of the returning officer to investigate these matters. Otherwise, the people of Holland-Bukit Timah don't know whether they will be voting for someone who has misrepresented herself and is not entitled to represent them in Parliament. I think this is a scandal of quite significant. Now, we're not saying Ms. Sim Ann has created this herself. Sim Ann is a candidate. It is up to the returning officer. So we call on the returning officer's department to clarify this matter in the interest of the voters of Holland-Bukit Timah.
So are you going to file an appeal to the Elections Department?
Unfortunately, there is no appeal under the Parliamentary Elections Act. They cut off that source of appeal.
So it seems that
them a 1 hour deadline. Are they going to? Do you know they're going to comply? Given an indication that they will.
Who?
You said in your speech that you give them a 1 hour deadline to respond to you.
Yes.
And
they have to come. No, well, I would say that the issue needs to be dealt with. The 1 hour is a reasonable time. All you need is a fax from the Ms. Sim's department saying yes, she has served out her notice period. That's all you need.
What will you do if they don't reply? I want 1 hour.
Well, very difficult because there is no appeal under the law. We actually have that particular route to court has been cauterized under the Act. So there's nothing we can do other than subject it to the court of public opinion, and then ask the voters on next Saturday to decide whether someone who takes shelter behind the returning officer, who may or may not, I don't know, have been biased in the decision. We ask the voters to decide on that basis.
So for now, it seems that the race is still on.
So the race is only on. Yeah. They've done everything else according to law.
So what do you think your chances of winning?
Well, after today and after the events of the last few days, I mean, you as media people know the backlash against certain statements that have been made in the press. I think our chances are very, very high. But they're not just high because of the media backlash. They are, sorry, the media reply. They are high because of the caliber of our candidates. These are people of high, formidable learning. But, as I said up there, these are people who distinguish themselves because of their concern for ordinary Singaporeans, but also because they feel a sense of deep disquiet that things have come to this pass in Singapore, that the citizens of Singapore have very little in the way of asking and talking to the government of Singapore. And when they do, we have an example exactly like today, a one-liner to refute a citizen objection. I think this is a microcosm of what's going on in Singapore. That motivates these highly qualified and very, very gentle and kindly people to enter into the political frame.
Are you hoping for a clean fight, focus on policies?
We have played a clean fight all this while. I ask you to make that decision as to...
Will what has happened here impact on your election campaigning? Will you be campaigning on the fact that you have not got
We will be campaigning on the issues. We've always campaigned on the issues. The issues are the people of Holland-Bukit Timah, the cost of living. The figures put out by Mr. Ma in today's papers regarding housing does not resonate with the people of Singapore. They are alien figures to the people of Singapore. And that is what we will be campaigning on. We will be campaigning on transparency and accountability in government. One example of which you have seen here today. We will be campaigning on who do we put at the center of policy in Singapore. We have never made a mistake about it. The Singaporean people are at the center of policy making in Singapore, or should be at the center of policy making.
In what way is the numbers alien? Because if he gives...
No, I'm not going to get into the detail here because what I'm saying is that the people whom I've spoken to as early as this morning said we don't recognize these figures as to how much they cost and how easy it is to get a flat in Singapore. The vast majority of Singaporeans trying for a flat now, that assessment by Mr. Ma doesn't resonate with their own experience.
Your objection to Simon?
I cannot speculate on what we'll do now. Give us some time to see whether... Let's be fair to them. I think there are serious civil servants. We have a very good civil service. They will take this seriously and they will respond in due course, I'm sure. I don't think the returning officer has any reason not to. It's a highly professional department.
Your first election, your first time through the process, what are your thoughts on it?
Exciting. I like it. But it's a profoundly humbling experience. We are here not to lead. We are here to serve.
You shook hands with Dr. Vivian earlier.
Yes.
Do you think you can comment on what has transpired between the two of you?
I think it's not fair to comment. He was cordial, he was genial, he was polite. Everything that I would expect of a gentleman.
What about his comments made on the party?
We've dealt with that. So let's move. This is the hustings now. Let's look at the issues.
One last question. Did you actually ask Simon whether she served out her notice?
We're not entitled to do that. It's the returning officer's duty to do that. They refuse to do it. We gave, yes. We gave them 3 routes they could go. You ask the perm sec for a letter, or you ask Mr. Simon himself, or you get some other form of documentary evidence. But we were told that it was not their duty to do that.